Hi, I'm Angel. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Welcome to NARC-REPELLANT. This channel is devoted to understanding narcissistic abuse and recovery, childhood abuse and trauma, and anything related to those topics. I'd like to launch each of my videos with a quote. We accept the love we think we deserve. Well, today's topic is a preliminary step to understanding narcissism and begins with, he had me at hello. My personal journey to healing and recovery began almost 8 months ago when I finally made it to that appointment with a therapist. The appointment I should have made months sooner, but I wasn't able to. I knew something wasn't right, but I couldn't quite understand what was happening to me. It was at that appointment where I learned what, not who, I had been in a relationship with for the past 14 months. I dropped to my knees from the shock of what I hadn't known. From that moment until now, my journey from what felt like a world full of insanity and confusion to clarity has brought many revelations and resolutions. I knew I wasn't my old self when I finally ended that relationship. I was left with so many questions. I knew I needed guidance and support. I felt lost. I felt desperate. Have you ever felt this way? Well, if you found my video, maybe you have. Why did it take me so long to make that damn appointment? After all, I'd thought a number of times over those months, what would Dr. G tell me? By the way, names and any identifying information have been changed for anyone who is a part of my story. Well, as I sat back down on that all too familiar royal blue love seat, I had a number of sessions years ago with the same doctor after experiencing a panic attack at my job. I didn't really know what I was going to say, how I was going to explain what was happening in my mind and in my body. I hadn't even considered the damage that could have been caused to my soul or my psyche yet. I opened my mouth, and as I heard what I was saying, I began to panic. I said, Dr. G, I fell in love with this guy from my past. I thought he was the long-lost love of my life, but he keeps accusing me of saying things I'm not saying and doing things I'm not doing. He won't listen to any of my reasoning. At that moment, I noticed that she put her hand to her forehead and laid her head down a bit. As she looked up after a brief moment, I heard her calmly say, Honey, do you have a way to get away from this person? I stammered for a second as I fought back to find the words. He just moved into my home 6 months ago. She then took a deep breath and plainly stated directly to me, Well, this person is acting paranoid. He's emotionally and psychologically abusing you. You need to get away from him. As those words sunk into my mind, paranoid, emotionally and psychologically abusing me, this is when I truly panicked. I don't remember what else was discussed, if anything, in that session. That was Wednesday. I don't know how I survived until the following Sunday morning. I had 2 days of work left in that week. I tried to focus on planning for my students, but I had that doctor's words resonating in my mind. I knew I had to do something. I had no idea what I was going to do. Honestly, I didn't even know what options I had. I felt stuck. After feeling so much in love, I'd let this man move into my home and into my life. I thought I could trust him. We'd had a history. After all, we'd known each other for 50 years. I guess I stopped talking to him after that appointment. I shuddered at the thought of him coming home and how I could face him. I decided not to be afraid. I decided to act as normal as I could with all that was going on in my head as trying to figure out what the hell I was going to do. Well, by Sunday morning, something had to be said or done. When I came downstairs a couple hours after he'd woken up, he confronted me by inquiring what had been going wrong. All I could say to him was, I just can't do this anymore. I hadn't practiced what I was going to say. It just came out so authentically. I truly could not do it, the relationship, anymore. I'd been dumbstruck at what to say or what to do. However, at this admission, he may have grumbled something. Then he grabbed his gym bag, which was conveniently stashed near his feet, and began packing up his stuff. Not only was it funny that he'd had that bag ready, but the first thing he packed into that bag was some silly award he'd gotten and placed on my mantle. He was so proud of that award. Well, of course, there was much drama involved, but within 30 minutes, I'd helped him to pack up every last thing we could find that belonged to him. He was gone. He was gone. Now what? Cry? Sleep? Party? No. Now, back to me. It was my turn. Somehow, that concept was exciting to me and scary. It was my turn to think about how to feel. I had to clear my head. I had to figure out what I'd just gone through in this relationship. I had to figure out why I felt the way I felt, or how did I feel. I realized I hadn't been thinking about me that past year. I was so busy thinking about him and doing or being everything he wanted or needed, I forgot about me. How does that happen? Oh gosh, my mind was so jumbled. I now had to figure out how to put one foot in front of the other. I had one more week of school left before the end of that semester. I know I cried every second I wasn't in the presence of my students. I couldn't help myself. I was so sad. I was incredibly embarrassed and humiliated at what I'd realized I had allowed. I was in such grief. This was not just grieving from the loss of a relationship. No, this grief was different. The pain of this grief felt deeper. This grief found a deep hole in my soul that was matched by the depth of the pain this man caused me. I'm familiar with sadness. This wasn't sadness. This angst was so deeply felt that I was paralyzed for the first 3 weeks after he left. Well, I had to get to work on myself. I knew I had to work on me. I had to take care of me. At least that's what Dr. G kept saying. How do I start? Well, I began going to see her every week. I went back to acupuncture weekly, remembering how much nurturing I received from that caretaker too. I was so out of my mind as videos streamed through my mind of the last year and the things I endured without even thinking or realizing what I was doing. On another Sunday in that third week post-breakup, I found myself driving but not remembering where I was going or what I was doing. I pulled over and I wept. I knew I was in more trouble and more pain than I had realized. I was able to get myself to urgent care, and then later in the week to my own general physician, who sent me to a psychiatrist for a medication evaluation. What a mess I was. I didn't even recognize my own self. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't focus or think straight. I couldn't keep a thought in my head. I doubled my visits for therapy to twice a week. That's what the shrink thought I should do. I had my anxiety medication doubled. I got something to help me sleep. I just wanted the pain to go away. I just wanted to be able to think this through. I wanted to be able to figure out what to do so I could fix that part of me that let this happen. It was during these early weeks after I was able to get him out of my home that the word narcissist came into my awareness. After all the stories I was able to share in therapy, and although she kept verifying she could not diagnose without treating him, Dr. G determined that this man I'd been in a relationship was probably suffering from a variety of mental health conditions, most probably narcissistic personality disorder, bipolar 1, paranoia, maybe schizophrenia, bipolar personality. Well, now at least I had something to work with. Besides working on healing me, I began researching this concept of narcissism and its effect on people. Truly, this man had me at hello. That search led me to the ideas of codependency, child abuse and trauma, mother wounds, as well as healing and recovery. I began to understand that I had been dealing with, for those 14 months, was abuse. I began to understand why I was the perfect target for a dysfunctional relationship. Of course, I found out I grew up with a narcissistic mother. This prepared me perfectly for a situation like this. So I hoped all my efforts at understanding what I had gone through were going to help me find my way back to me. I'm grateful for the professionals who guided me and supported me on this journey. I'm eternally grateful to my adult son and daughter for their patience and understanding, as well as my many friends turned family who've been there for me every step of my healing. I'm going to share this journey here with you as we stumble together in our quest for understanding, for healing, and for recovery, and back into a joyful life. The quote from Stephen Chomsky, who wrote The Perks of Being a Wallflower, that I began this video with, "We accept the love we think we deserve." I think this has a different meaning for me now. I've learned I deserve much better than a relationship that any toxic person could ever offer me. Have you ever been in a relationship with someone who suffers from narcissistic personality traits? If so, maybe you found my channel before you were looking for answers and support. I hope you continue to join me on this journey as I share with you what I've learned about narcissism, narcissistic abuse, mother wounds, codependency, and myself as I heal. I hope you find what I share here useful and supportive. Please comment below if there are subjects in this area of interest to you, or if you have information you want to share with me as I build this community. If you find that you like what you've heard and you want more, please press the like button, as well as please subscribe to this new channel. Ring the bell to get alerts for the new material I'm preparing. I'm hoping to put up a new post once a week. If you have helpful comments, please put them below. I'm hoping to grow this community of survivors so that others can also share their story and their truth to help us all recover. Thank you so much. Have a great day.